Yeah, that's the Gondor.
Also, I feel like I'm gonna hurl, like, the biggest chunks of my life.
Yeah.
ええ、魔術の類よ。ガンド打ちって言ってね。北欧の呪詛の一つ。
Well,
魔術回路のある私には効
that's
かな
not
いけど、
entirely true.
抵抗のないあな
They
た
still
に
would have
効
worked
果
on
的な
Shiro
み
if they hit him.
There's no effects on people with magic circuits. Rin begs to disagree.
Well,
She thought she could murder Shiro with those things.
to be fair, a proper Gondor is like a weak little shot that you could shoot someone in the back with to make them severely ill. But Rin puts so much energy into them, they become like physical bullets.
Rin just, like, ripped off Aoko's snap, but made
Yeah.
it a Gondor instead.
Pretty much, yeah. She basically just combined the two techniques.
To Aoko.
Yes, to Aoko.
Aoko had no idea why she was relieved, but she gritted her teeth and fought down the urge to snap at him. Also, I don't think your snap is working at the moment, because your circuits are kind of fucked.
She means, not to be soon at him.
There was no use in yelling at a time like this. Above all, she felt that it would have been petty in the extreme to voice her annoyance right now.
そうね。注意するのは伸ばしてくる腕だけ。大した相手じゃないわ。
Yeah, totally.
Man, I love this joint crotch shot we got going on. What
Yeah.
are these angles? I swear. This time it wasn't false bravado. Such an enemy would normally be a breeze for Aoko Aozaki, but her shameful negligence had led to the disruption of her magic circuits, making her even less formidable than her enemy.
Well, yeah, that screwed you over pretty severely.
At this point, Aoko had no way of attacking. The only option left to her was to wait for it to expend all its magical energy, but its perpetual curse mechanism made that a non-starter.
That does suck.
This game of tag wouldn't end until one of them was dead. Man, it's like you're Vegeta fighting 18 the first time. She realized that she was in the same position she'd cornered Soujuuro in earlier. She glanced at her right arm. She couldn't imagine how she'd gotten into such a mess with her magical energy at more than half of its capacity. This had to be karma for having enjoyed toying with Soujuuro earlier.
呆れた。いるところにはいるものね、神様。
Or, you know, karma, I guess.
She grumbled under her breath as she shifted her focus. She had the fuel for the fire, but not the igniter. And that killing machine would chase her until the end of time if need be.
That really sucks.
What she should do next was blindingly clear. She had to get back to normal.
ごめん、考え事してた。確か。よし、合ってる。しずきくん、そこに横道あるのわかる？
Side passage? That sounds helpful.
Aoko pointed, but he could see nothing but the walls of the corridor. For one thing, the floor had nothing but left turns, and Aoko was pointing to the right.
2階は中心まで行くと1階に降りる階段があるんだけど、それ
Oh.
は私が壊したから使えないの。
Oh. But there's supposed to be a stairway down to the first floor.
けど、ここの作りも意地が悪くてね。よく見れば、右に曲がる通路もあるのよ。上級者だけにわかる抜け道ってやつ。
Okay.
Only the hardcore fans of a place that's been closed for 2 years.
The hardcore fans of, yeah, the
あとは注意して探せば、
mirror navigation
1階の
puzzles.
階段までショートカットできる。悪いけど、一人で行って。
Oh.
Aoko turned her back to Soujuuro and started walking. Walking in the opposite direction of the escape route and down the long corridor toward the puppet in pursuit.
あいつは無差別だから、ここで壊さないといけない。魔術師は魔術師同士で争うのはいいんだけど。
However, you did see magic shit, so I do still have to kill you later.
She can
It's
work it
mage
out.
law.
Well, if she
あいつの
comes
目
up with
的
some
は
bullshit
私のわけだし、
excuse, keep him
結果が
around.
どうあれ、すっきりするでしょ。
think Sojuro's gonna agree with this.
This the best outcome for everyone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, instead of this is...
If Aoko won, the puppet would be destroyed. If Aoko lost, its objective would be complete and it would shut down. Either way, them going their separate ways would mean Soujuuro survived. This is what Aoko meant, though she explained it as if the events were happening to two totally different people.
Made it less personal. Hey, if you're lucky, you'll even get to go back to the gate.
Steps outside of the funhouse and Alice is standing there with a knife and just shanks him in the throat. Like, alright, well, I cleaned up after Aoko's mess.
Well... If Alice was here, that'd be great.
Also, wasn't Alice gonna be, like, keeping an eye on her because she told the bird that, like, she had faith in her but didn't trust her, or the other way around?
I mean, maybe like, Alice is on her way?
Like, faith and trust are two different things, and...
yeah. Yeah.
Even Soujuuro could tell she was lying. She was just trying to act tough. But she had already disappeared around the corner by the time he thought to stop her.
Oh.
Mentally, Aoko bemoaned the disaster she was in. The quality of this puppet was on a completely different level compared to the one from the park 2 days ago. An auto-incanting perpetual motion machine was a rarity in and of itself, but this puppet was also equipped for battle with his extending stretchy arms and Gondor-producing crystalline eyes.
Oh, the eyes made the Gondor shots?
Goddamn mystic eyes.
Damn. Artificial mystic eyes.
Yeah, right? It was a first-class product that, if put on the market, would sell for hundreds of millions of yen.
God damn, really?
Although that was only when factoring in its value as an antique. For the purposes of combat, it would have made more sense to mobilize a significantly less expensive familiar.
Yeah, you usually want your drones to be cheap.
To use such a precious commodity as a tool for murder marked this puppet's master as a completely different breed of crazy from the enemies she'd faced up until now.
Oh. It's a cool effect. Oh, it's the first chant again. Oh, it's puppet vision, I guess. You can see that red eye in the distance.
A sound of crackling music box filled the air. The automata, animated by its own curses, approached. The corridor measured approximately 30 feet in length. Exactly Aoko's ideal distance for her 40% hit rate. Aoko lay in wait around a corner further down the hall, anticipating the puppet's appearance. This wasn't to buy Soujuuro time to escape. Far from it. Aoko had concluded that she couldn't make a break for it under the current circumstances. Even if she did try to escape and, by some miracle, made it out of the House of Mirrors, that was as far as she'd go. Outside, with no cover, Aoko would quickly be overtaken and skewered from behind.
So she wants to funnel it somewhere where she can fight it face to face, huh?
As long as her magecraft was disabled, escape was impossible. Instead, she chose to force the enemy back. Her situation wasn't the most favorable, but neither was the puppet's. Though this narrow hall gave Aoko no place to run, it in turn prevented the puppet from reaching full speed.
Because of all the turns?
Also, running is not going to be terribly practical in those high-heeled boots, I'm just saying.
It's fine.
Like, those boots were already impractical when they went over her knee, making bending her knees difficult.
It's fine.
But then you add high heels to them. Like, Aoko, what are you doing? You're fashionable as fuck, but, like, you know, this is not a practical way to dress, my girl. This was the weak point of this machine. Automata of its era had a tendency to struggle with minute changes in speed.
We're literally saying set in English. Right?
Trace on. She flowed energy into her shorted circuits. Her blood flow and magical energy supply were unstable. It would be difficult to construct a formula in this state. All she could do was harden her right arm by imbuing it with as much energy as she could.
Okay, yeah, just reinforcing it.
Doing so turned her arm into an improvised weapon like a hammer or a bat. Assuming she could manage to get into close combat range, this was the best she could do. All she needed now was a plan of attack. Only she had a chair leg or a rolled up piece of paper. The question wasn't what weapon to use, but how to use the weapon she had. The simplest way would be to use the mirror's reflections to hide and then rush the puppet from its blind spot. Except for one major problem.
It wasn't using human eyes?
It didn't have a sense of sight in the first place.
Yeah, basically.
The puppet's view of the world around it didn't stem from visual feedback, but from mapping the topography of its surroundings.
Like radar, basically.
In theory, it was the same as
Yeah.
a bat's echolocation. The environment could be measured based on the emission and return of high-frequency sound waves. Those chants served as sensor pulses. As far as the puppet was concerned, the mirrors were no better than transparent panes, making even the thought of an ambush laughable.
近づけば
Well,
近づ
that's
くほ
bad.
どよりリアルに察知される。本当は遠距離からの狙撃が最適なんだけど、ガンドを撃ってくるならフィンの一撃ぐらい隠してるわよね。
Yeah, might have something else.
Gondar was Scandinavian in origin, and, considering its simplicity, highly versatile. It was most effective at impairing a target's health by pointing a finger. As a single-action magecraft, it was limited to only causing illness. Or death, if your name happened to be Rin Tosaka.
Well,
But there was a secret technique said to be the greatest mastery of the Gondar shot. The Fin shot. It could do more than cause simple illness. It was a deadly curse that could stop the heart. The wound on her back set her nerves on fire. An unarmed girl and a deadly automaton. It was clear that she was the one destined for death. She considered her slim chances of survival when...
ooh. Oh.
a vision sent chills down her spine. Quietly, using everything she could to clamp down on the feeling, Aoko faced her all too familiar illusion. She clenched her teeth to keep them from making a deafening clatter. But there, the sensation of fingers crawling up her neck. Behind her, the specter stared and laughed. This alone made Aoko want to bolt. On top of it all, when Aoko tried to mentally simulate the coming fight, she estimated a 2 in 10 chance of dying in the first 5 seconds.
Nice double comma there, too.
Was there?
Yeah. After fight.
Oh, yeah.
Couple errors there.
20%. At times, her predictions were harsher than reality. If Aoko fought the puppet 10 times, she would die twice. She couldn't stop herself from visualizing her own corpse. She imagined herself collapsing, crumpling under the puppet's curse. Her eyeballs swollen like a blowfish, blood and other fluids oozing from every bodily orifice. 1 in 5. 1 in 5. 1 in 5. A 1 in 10 chance of death was bad enough, but 1 in 5? It drove her crazy. Aoko forced down her heart as it tried to escape from her mouth. Taking in a deep breath, she peered at her own reflection. She thought back to that white night half a year ago. This, she decided, was nothing compared to that. 6 months ago, at the Kuonji estate, the Hound of White Roses. I'm assuming that's supposed to be Vandersnatch.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing.
The Vandersnatch that appeared from within the thick fog had killed Aoko 100 times out of 10.
How the hell is that possible?
Yeah,
another one we've seen before.
A dark curse shadowed Aoko's daydream. It was only 30 feet away. The puppet rounded the corner. Either side stood in the shadows, their forms indistinct.
Oh, yeah, that's a nice array of bullets.
The puppet gave no warning. Without preamble, it swiftly fired a Gondar barrage. Just as Aoko planned, the curses fizzled out as they hit her mist-like barrier of magical energy. The protection would only last a few seconds, giving her just enough time to...
Right arm time?
Its stretchable spear sprang towards Aoko's face.
Bingo!
The lethal weapon grazed by her cheek. All her experience analyzing puppet attack patterns gave her the wherewithal to evade the attack by a hair's breadth. It was one thing if a puppeteer were pulling the strings, but an autonomous dolls had their limitations. Aoko had bet everything on this killing machine following a predefined template. The puppet would use a given attack for a given range, and she could adjust her tactics to that.
Yeah? It's easier when you're not fighting a human.
Before its arm had a chance to fully retract, she charged the puppet. It was a risky gamble, but her overall chances were slim to begin with. The scales tipped in her favor. If her predictions were correct, there were two ways she would die. One was from a fin shot fired at that range.
Oh!
And the other. The other was if the puppet's attack pattern was beyond her ability to foresee. Instantaneous mass transfer, otherwise known as mass displacement. Immediately after Aoko dodged the puppet's arm, something smashed into her abdomen. The head-on collision from its shoulder felt like a rocket. But where had the ability to propel itself come from? Puppets like this weren't built to have that ability to jet around like that.
Custom modification, I guess.
Doing everything in her power to stay conscious in spite of the pain, Aoko could just make out what had happened.
Yeah, you use the arm to pull itself forward.
Yes, the puppet's arm hadn't returned to its body. It was lodged in the wall and reeled itself in from the other direction. Why wouldn't it be able to?
Well...
Wait.
And the arm has to really be wedged in the wall then for that to happen. Normally the greater mass would be the one doing the pulling.
Swallowing her surprise, she hastily pulled herself back up. Her abdomen, specifically her diaphragm, had been dealt a significant blow. The attack left her disoriented. Thankfully, the puppet was surprisingly lightweight, about 100 pounds. Her bones and organs were intact, and she'd sustained no life-threatening damage. She was having a hard time breathing, however. She was shaken, though she managed to keep her calm. In another 2 seconds, she'd be back on her feet. No, that was 2 seconds too long. She told herself to calm down, that she was already calm. She'd only briefly lost her bearings. She was fine. She could recover her breath and her vision later, if only her body would move.
That one seems different, but no translation on that one.
Above her, Aoko could hear the warped noise of a powerful force. Boy, we are at time.
Yeah, the scene, we don't know how much longer the scene has to go. So yeah. Now, Aoko is the one who has to get out of a life-threatening situation. Here's hoping, Alice shows up soon, I guess.
Yeah, that would be helpful, right?
Yeah, or
Or
Soujuuro comes back with a pipe or something.
yeah, right. Dude found a table leg somewhere and decided
Yeah.
to like,
Just smack the puppet with it.
yeah. Or like, we did mention the neck bandages thing, like,
Yeah.
finally in universe.
Yeah, that still has to mean something.
So the Chekhov's gun still has to go off.
Right, yeah. They clearly showed it on some of his close-ups. It's still on.
And they even directly mentioned it when he was
Well-
talking with like Aoko and Alice.
Yeah, they mentioned it last time, but this time they had some close-ups and they still highlighted that it was there, so we're still waiting for that to come into play.
I mean, it has to, right?
Right?
You don't put that there
Unless it
and then
means
like
something.
draw attention to it
Yeah,
unless it means something.
right.
Like that is the concept of Chekhov's gun.
Right.
You don't mention a gun on the wall in Act 1 if it's not going to be fired by Act 3.
Right. So maybe Soujuuro will pull out some more bullshit strength and get Aoko out of this? Dunno.
We'll have to find out.
Next time. And until then, we'll catch you later.